Okay, thanks, John.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get it started. So, in our last session, we saw about life cycle. So, what is a life cycle? Why we used it, and how to configure a life cycle for a business object. And there are two types of life cycle. One is basic, and another is advanced. We also talk about different things we can do within OER, but we didn't go in detail. So we have a separate class for OER. So today we will talk about advanced lifecycle and how to create a basic workflow and attach the workflow to the advanced lifecycle. Before we start, any questions on our previous classes? So lifecycle is one of the core concept of PLM, not for Winchell, it's for PLM. Any PLM tool has this lifecycle, because that's where we track the maturity of an object. When I say maturity of an object, so where it is in its life cycle. So any object you open, it will be assigned any primary business object. Let's say this is one of the quality object. We didn't see this about the primary business object. It comes with quality. It's called customer experience. This will have a life cycle. Click it, it will show it has intake, eval, in progress, and closed. So I know, so where it is. Any object will have a life cycle. Okay. Let's go and try to create a new one. Go to arc level. And you guys know what's the difference between creating a life cycle at site, arc, at container level. So we have three levels. One is site, arc, and containers.
Yeah, if we create on site, so it will be accessible for organization as well as a container.
So it will be applicable for the organization below the site, because we can have more than one organization. But in any eventual installation, there'll be only one site, but we can have more than one organization. But most of the time, there'll be only one organization. And when you say container, there'll be more than one container. Okay, let's say I have a WT part, which follows lifecycle one, which is configured at site level. But for one of my product, I want a different life cycle for that same WT part. So then I'll create a life cycle at the specific container level. So other places except for that container, it will follow the life cycle one. And for that specific container, it will follow whatever life cycle we configure at the container level. And you guys know how to navigate to lifecycle management, because navigation is the key. I know you don't have hands-on experience, so any container or organization will directly have, I mean, except for site, everything you need to expand this plus will have utilities. And this will give the business and site administration utilities. See, this is organization, only have limited. If you go to site, you will see more utilities, because some utilities are only available for site admin. And if you go at the container level, you'll see only less utilities. Okay, it will be limited based on from where you are navigating to the utilities. Some companies will configure their workflows and lifecycle at site level, and some companies will configure at org level. Okay, go to utilities. You'll have lifecycle template administration under business administration. Okay, we have test lifecycle. So now make it advanced. So now since I clicked on one of the state, I don't have the option to select between basic and advanced. So to go back to the screen, click anywhere outside of this. See the basic and advanced option. I will select advanced in work. Have workflow. Okay. So before we configure a workflow, we have to design a simple workflow. In same thing, go back to utilities, workflow template administration. So Winchell has one of the powerful workflow engine. It can help to automate any business process. Okay, let's create a new workflow. It always comes with a start flag. So what should happen when a part is created? Let's say I want to create activity. So these are all different options we have in a workflow. So this is called assigned activity. When a user needs to perform a task, we have to create an activity. This is when a task will be generated for the user. This is unconnected or connector. We will see all these things in a workflow class, but for here, we'll create a simple workflow. So once my workflow started, I want a design engineer to review the part. Okay, I go here, I double click the activity. It will give options for that specific activity. You will see all these things in our workflow class. For now, I will name my activity as review part. We can assign to which group or role or team or individual user this task needs to be assigned. For now, I don't want to create any groups or roles specific for this task, so it will come back to the creator. Okay. Once he completes this review task, someone needs to uh, verify the change he made. Okay. Let's say approve. So this one, maybe his manager will review his work and approve the design. But what if something is not right? He want to send it back to the user. Okay. So we need to give them an option what he need to do, whether he approve it or he want to send it back to the design engineer. So that's where we have routings. Again, workflow is very big topic, so we have sessions for it. Now, don't need to worry. We'll see what is conditional, manual, and manual exclusive, everything. And as always, you have the help icon to explore about different option available here. Okay. Now I will provide my arrow connector. First, it will go to the review part. Then it will go to the approve design. Okay. Now, when we say clarify, it is to come back to the review part. You can again put an arrow like this, but that's not the right way. I'll have an R connector here, and from here it goes here. Okay. Now, so what if he approves it? So we want to change the state of the part to released. So we need a robot because that's not a user action, that's a system action. So we need a robot for that. Where's okay, method robot. What is the type of the robot? It's a set state robot. To what is the state we want to see? Released. Okay. Then I want to end my workflow. This one simple workflow. So now how the system knows that if he selects approve, it should go this branch. If we select clarify, it should go. That's where we have a little question mark. Whenever we had routing option, so this one doesn't have the question mark because this activity doesn't have a routing option. But this activity has routing option, so that's why it has the question mark. Which route it need to select? Double click it. Here, if you say approve, start. Now it will have this approve. Clarify, fire. So this one I selected as a loop link. I'll tell you what is a loop link in a workflow class.
Kumar, just a question. Are those really connected? Like the connections are given exactly?
What do you mean by connection are given exactly? So
I
this
mean,
is
yeah, like for example, from approval design, we are giving to a OR gate, right? So it doesn't feel like we are actually giving it to an OR gate and it is getting it back. Like,
so OR gate is if the flow comes here, it will fire the all the links it is going out.
hmm.
Why we have OR gate is we can also put a bidirectional arrow this way, but it will be little confusing for the users. So that's why we have this R connector.
Okay.
We'll see the use of the R connector and N connector in a workflow class. Okay.
Um, Manoj, so is there any way that we can validate our workflow?
You can validate by assigning it to a lifecycle and creating an object. Okay. Uh,
Okay. So you mean like before publishing, we need to test entire flow?
yes, of course.
Okay.
Now we have checked in our workflow, so it will be ready for the lifecycle configuration. Okay, and in progress, I'll go to I didn't make it as advanced. Face, have this workflow. So use all use latest iteration. The checkbox means let's say if you're making a change to your workflow. So next time your lifecycle, when you create an object using this lifecycle, it will always take the latest iteration. Or if you uncheck it, it will always take the current iteration that you have assigned to. Okay. Can you tell me what we need to do to configure this lifecycle? Okay.
We need to, yeah, a life cycle template we need to.
We need to create a OAR to sign. We already have that OAR somewhere.
But we reverted back
Yeah,
yesterday.
we reverted back. So we need to again upload the OAR. Let's see if we have our changes here. Yes, and TBCT part. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, good. So in PLM, name is not unique, only the number is unique. So the number is auto-generated.
So the auto generation is because of the OAR.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, it's following a lifecycle template. Where do I see if a workflow is attached to this lifecycle? So these are different columns. We'll see. I mean, we see what is a structure tab. So, but there is no place to view the workflow. See this one? This workflow is initiated. It's running. It started at 6:25 Eastern time. If you want to see where the workflow stands, right click, open process manager. This is the instance of that workflow, which is initiated. Okay, it started and now it's waiting in review part activity. If you see down below, you have a review part task assigned. This will be a user task. Whenever I say task, some user in Winchell will have this task. They need to complete it. Okay, what is this? This is to review the part. So what they need to do is they need to review this and make necessary changes, check out, check in. And once they're done with their changes, they say complete task. Now, if I go back to the same tab, if I refresh, review part is completed. It's completed by this user. It's completed on this date. Now I have approved design. If I open approved design, I have two options here, the routing options. Okay. I can select only one. That's the difference between, if you see in the routing, we have manual, exclusive, or conditional, or none. So none, you won't see any routing option. If it is manual exclusive, you can select only one option. If it is just manual, it will be a checkbox. You can select more than one option. So here, let's say I click clarify. Complete this task. Now again, it went back to the same designer. So why I made this link as a loop link, because when it comes here and go here, this R connector will be terminated. When I say it is loop link, when it moves the connection from here to the review part, it will reset this R connector. So it's running in a loop. That's what it means. If your process is a loop, you always have to make this, whatever connector you're using, you have to always make the outgoing arrow as a loop link. So it will be reset and again, we can reuse it. Now again, review part. Um, So we can also have some comments from the approver. It will have that comments. Now, this designer will go through that comment and will make the necessary change, and he will again complete the task. Okay, now again it went to the approve design. Now we say approve. Now all the tasks are completed. If I refresh, the part is moved to release state and the workflow is completed. So this is when I say automate a business process. I have a process, okay? A design engineer needs to design and update the part, and it needs to be approved by some approvers. And my process, if there is some correction required, it should again go back to the design engineer. Let's say before PLM, okay, I'm a design engineer doing all my design in a draft board. Okay, I do my design. There's no CAD involved there. I do my design, and I show this design to my manager to get his approval. If he says some correction, then I'll come back to my design board, make all those corrections, and go back to my manager. And if more correction, I'll come back. That's where iteration comes into play. Here we didn't do the iteration. So let's say the first time it's in A.1 and my manager send it back. And what I will do, I will check out my part, make the necessary change and check in. I'll add the comment, okay, increase some diameter or something. Okay. I check it back in, I complete my task. It will go for approval. If it sends it back again, to make the change, I check out and check in. So this is one powerful option with Twingel, okay? You can go back and see all the iterations. You go to history, you'll have all the iterations. So we have the traceability. That is a key functionality for any design and manufacturing industry. You need to go back in time and see what it is, what correction they have made, all those things. Now it's in release state. So any questions so far? The simple workflow we did. This is not a workflow class, but when I say automate a business process, this is what I meant. There'll be more complex process, okay, that we'll see in our workflow class about a little more complex process, a business process.
Mhm. Bro, I have one question. So when you created the workflow, right? So it automatically went into the running state. So
When I create the workflow, I didn't went into this. So what we created here is the template. Okay. This is a template. It
mm,
didn't start, it won't do anything. Okay. It will be here.
yeah, means
I
after.
configure this workflow to my lifecycle, and lifecycle is configured to my TBCT part using OIR. When I create this part, a lifecycle instance will be initiated. And when the lifecycle instance is initiated, if it has an attached workflow, this is an instance of that workflow. This is not the actual workflow. It's like Java concept, Java object. You have a class and you are making the object from the class. You're creating object from the template. If I create one more part, it will also have an instance of that workflow, but two different instances. This will be in approved design, that will be in review part. So two different instances made from a same template. So if I create 1,000 parts, there will be 1,000 instances of this workflow.
Okay.
So now you're getting what is a workflow.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so now this part is in release state. It went to manufacturing. They're doing some manufacturing. Now I need to make a change. Let's say this is a wheel. I need to increase the diameter of the wheel. What should I do? We already talked about it. So how you bring a change?
Yeah, problem
Problem report. We
report.
start with problem report, right? So the problem report will initiate a change request. A change request will initiate a change task. I mean,
Change task.
change notice. In change notice, we'll have change task, and the
Task.
change task will be assigned to a design engineer. Let's say I have the change task now. I created a problem report. Problem report doesn't mean that there is a problem with the product. So if there is a problem, then of course we'll have a problem report. If you need to enhance your product, then of course you need a change, then you'll create a problem report. So now I have a task to update this part. Okay. So what I will do, I will revise the part. So any major change, that's the difference between iteration and revision. Any small change, we do iteration. Any major change, we do revision. So let's see what happens if I revise the part. If I revise the part, the new revision will be B, the new state will be invert. Okay, you see here, now I'm in B.1. I have a new workflow triggered. Okay, you know why? Because now it's a new revision. The part went back to in-work. We configured the workflow in the in-work state of the lifecycle. So again, it triggered the workflow. Now again, I have the review part task and the process continues. I make all the change I want, I send it to the approver. And approver, clarify. I check out, make change, check in, review part, complete task. I add comments. Okay, I made this change and I complete the task. It went to the approver. Approver sees the change. He approves. Again, my B revision is in release state. My B revision is in release state. Okay, if I want to go back to my A revision, I go to history. I click the little eyeball here. It's my A revision. Okay, it's A.3. So if you go to any non-latest version, you'll always have this go to latest. It will always take you to the latest version of the part, which is B.2. So this will take months, sometimes even years to complete this workflow. For simplicity, I've quickly done it. So this is how a part will be released to manufacturing and a change will be implemented. Okay, any questions here?
Yeah, Manoj, like for in case initially we have created the life cycle and we thought like in the real life situation, if we only can do some changes, if we do the revisions properly, it will be taken care of. But then we realize revision won't work, so we have to change it completely. In that case, how do we do it?
Now, can you repeat the question?
I mean, like once we have created the life cycle, we
Mhm.
realize that there may be small revisions we have to change. Uh,
Oh, you have to make changes to the life cycle.
yeah.
Okay, you designed a life cycle and later realized, okay, this is not right. I need to make more changes to my life cycle,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
And
okay,
then if we do the revisions, it doesn't work well. We need to completely instead of revisions we have to change the life cycle itself. So how do we proceed in that case?
Okay, let's say I want to add one more state in my life cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, so initially I thought, okay, three states should be enough, but later I realized, okay, so I need to add one more state. Let's go there. So before that, I'll revise this part. Uh, then you'll know. Okay, I'll add one more state here. Make it cancel. Okay, I save and close. Now I will ask a question. So now I added a new state. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new part. I created a new part. I come down here and I see only three states. What happened to the change I made? Any guess?
You need to do check-in.
Right. We need to check in our change. So the yellow icon means it's checked out.
Check out.
Until I check in my change, it won't reflect. Okay, so now I have my change in place, and still this is referring to the old life cycle. But if I create a new part, so if I didn't fill the mandatory attribute, it will give this warning and it will highlight in yellow. So you need to fill these mandatory attributes. Oh, this one has my latest life cycle. But what about the old parts? Okay, this still follows the old life cycle. What should we do now to make this part follow the latest life cycle? Okay, we already told you about this. So that's where we have the reassign life cycle. Use the latest iteration of the current lifecycle template, preserve the current state. Click OK. Now it has all four states. So if in this case, sometimes the user will ask, okay, I want all my parts to follow the latest lifecycle. Then what we need, we cannot go to every part. We may have thousands and thousands of parts. We cannot go to all details and do reason lifecycle. That's where we write custom utility. So the action, what it's doing behind the scene, it's invoking a Java API, which takes the latest iteration of the lifecycle and assign it to the stability part. Same thing we are going to do with our custom utility. It's nothing but a Java class. Okay, we write a Java class and we query for all the part using Winchell APIs, and we have APIs to reassign the lifecycle, and everything we do it through that utility. And it's a one-time job. We deploy it in production. We run that utility. We'll reassign the lifecycle of all the parts that required reassign. with the latest iteration of the life cycle. Okay. Since we assign the OAR at this container level, let's see what will happen if we create the same part at a different container. No, it's following a different life cycle because, as I said, we configure the OAR at the container level. So let's say I have OAR at org level, which says the TBCT part should follow lifecycle 1. And I have OAR at container level, let's say at COPE spectra, which says the TBCT part should follow lifecycle 2. If I create a part in this container, which lifecycle it should follow?
On the site level.
Nope.
So it,
Always the container takes the preference. Okay. First, when I create a part, first it will check if it has any OAR defined at the container level. If it doesn't, it will check at org level. If it doesn't, it will check at site level. So that is the preference.
so it will not override if we create a site
Now,
OAR.
site won't override container, but container will override org and site, and org will override site.
No, okay.
Because that's all, because I have one life cycle which should be followed at all the containers, and I have one container which should have a different life cycle. How do I do it? If I create one at site and the site overrides the container, there is no way I can achieve this.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, go to latest. This is my TBCT path. Okay, so this one, the same TBCT part, has revise action, the same container. This one doesn't have a revise action. You guys know why? See, when I go to actions, how do I revise the part? I click action and revise it. It will take me to the new revision. This part has the revise option and this one doesn't. Why is that?
Because of the rules.
Because of the transitions. We talked about transition in our last class. This is just to refresh your memories. I know it's hard to remember all those things, but in InWork, I don't have a revise transition, but the released one has a revise transition. So now we used a workflow to move this part from InWork to released. What is the other way we can move this part from InWork to released?
Promote.
Yes, we need to create a new promotion request. Okay, so we need to promote the part. Okay, so next one. This is all these questions are to refresh your memories. Okay, now I have so this one is called iteration. This one is called revision. Together, it's called version. That's the difference. When we say iteration, this is what we cannot change the 1, 2, 3, but we can change the A. Let's say I want 1.1, 1.2. What should I do?
We have an option drop down. We need to select. I can't
Okay,
remember.
let's make the change. Okay, in work, it's numeric.
Yeah, this one.
Let's make this change and see what will happen to our new part. Now, did you see the difference? Now it's 1.1. It's numeric. So out of the box, we have numeric
It,
and mil-spec.
it will not change to 1.2, right? It changes to 2.1.
No, if I check out and check in, it's 1.2 because the iteration is always 1, 2, 3. You cannot change the iteration sequence.
Okay.
Okay, it's 1.2 and
Yeah.
1.3. If
Yeah.
I revise it, I don't have the option to revise. I need to set state to released. So this is what the business will ask you to configure based on their business requirement. When you work on a real project, they'll give you a requirement. Okay, I need to remove the revise action from these states. These states should have the revise action. I need this versioning sequence. I need this state. I need a custom state.
So for the custom state, do we need to write a like code, or we can achieve with the configuration?
It's configuration. Just give me a moment, guys. So for that, some option. Why is this something wrong with my system? So I need to fix my VM to show you how it is. But we'll see. So it's not a coding. So all this state roles comes from a resource file. We need to add our custom state to that resource file and run a command and restart our server. I'll show you the process. Since I don't know my cooling system failed in my computer. It's running at 100 degrees, so that's why I have some issues with my VM. So our next class, I'll fix that and show you how to add a custom state.
Okay.
Okay. So if you see the identity of this object, this is name, This is icon. This is number. So this is type of our object. This is icon. This is number. This is name. This is revision, iteration, and what is this? That's view. That's fine. Okay, that's the view. Because in a manufacturing, when a design engineer design a car, he will assemble the bomb as per his perspective. But when it goes to manufacturing, they'll have a different view so that they can easily manufacture. They're not going to manufacture like the design engineer design, okay? But they'll have a different view for that part. Let's say the we should call it as a bomb. We discussed about this in our early classes, the first two classes. Bill of materials. This is design bill of materials. We also have a MBOM, manufacturing bill of materials, where we have additional components like a coolant for the manufacturing process and any additional supplies that is required to manufacture the product, which won't be covered in the design view because the design engine doesn't care about the coolant they used or the packaging material or the shipping label. We cannot design all those things. That's why we have this view concept. This is called design view. Let's say I want to have a different view of the product for my manufacturing team. What should I do? Go here, new view version. I'll specify the view. Still in work. Now it's in manufacturing view. Go to history. See, the 2.1 is in design and 1.1 is in manufacturing. This is a separate instance of the part. So we have so we have one product, but we have multiple manufacturing plant. Okay. Let's say I have an Apple phone, which is manufactured in India and China. The China factory will have a different way of manufacturing the iPhone. The India factory will have a different way of manufacturing, depends on the equipments they have and labors. So they're not going to follow the same manufacturing process, but the design is same, but the way they manufacture is different. So how do we create a different manufacturing view for these two different plants having this view? So these are our manufacturing plants. Okay. It's not showing manufacturing because we already have a manufacturing view. Let's say I want to create a BOM for my Japan manufacturing plant. I'll create this view and rearrange my components and add additional components as per my Japan manufacturing plant. If it is going to manufacture in Littleton, I have a different view. That's where we have this view concept. Okay, we went a little off topic because I want to give you what all the components we have in the identity of an object. What we see here, this is called identity. We can change the icon, depends on our business requirement. That is from type and attribute manager. Let's go back to our life cycle. So whenever I create an object, the object always comes with a member tab. See, we have to find it. Here it is. This one specifies what are the roles that's going to be part of the workflow, because we only have one activity. Let's say there is a change review board who is going to be part of the workflow and they need to do some approvals. How do I add all those roles to my object? That's where we have this role concept. So since I selected only reviewer, it only has the reviewer role here. And if I want to add more roles, this is where I go and add more roles to my lifecycle. Let's say I want to add someone called audit manager and CAD author. Let's go to my lifecycle and make a small change there. This task should go to it always have a responsible role. Okay, this is where which role this task is assigned to. I complete the task. Before I complete the task, let's go back to the path and go to the members tab. Now I have all these roles available here. Now I go here and add someone. I'll add my name. See, now it went to the CAD author role, and I am the only user who is assigned to that role. So it got assigned to me. If more users are assigned to that role, we'll have the same task for all the members assigned to that role. That's the significance of role in the lifecycle. So what are the roles that this object is going to be part of? What roles that needs to be here? We should add it in our lifecycle template. So once you start working on the project, you will know all these things. In the workflow, we'll also see about roles. Okay, so which user the task needs to be assigned. So you all know how the access control works. It works from our policy administration. Who needs to have access? But in the life cycle, we can configure additional permission, grant permission to specific roles. It's called ad hoc policies. let's say my access control tells the CAD author should not have read access for this part. In my life cycle, if I give full control for my CAD author, this policy will override my ACL and give grant permission to this role. Mostly you won't use this, but there is an option in Lifecycle to give grant permission for different roles. This is called ad hoc policy, but mostly we won't use this. So now I made a change, okay, but I don't want that change. How do I revert back those changes? Simply do undo checkout. It will go back to the previous iteration. Okay. Any questions? Once you have hands-on experience and started working on project, the more and more you have hands-on, all these things will make sense for you guys. Now, since this first time you're hearing all these things concept, so I know I've been in your shoes, so don't worry. Okay, questions?
Yeah, Manoj, bro, so the workflow which we have designed, right? So it
Hmm?
can break in between, like going from one step to another step. Can it happen in real time?
You're telling that it breaks?
Yeah.
Of course it will.
So for that, do we have any logs to troubleshoot, or how we'll troubleshoot?
Yes, so everything will be locked up. We are going to see those fail cases in a workflow class. What
Oh,
happens
okay.
if you return a API? So we can also call Java APIs inside a workflow. Just
Mm-hmm.
give me a minute. We can also invoke Java APIs from a workflow. Let's say your Java API throws a null pointer exception. The workflow will stall, and you need to go through the logs to find why it is not moving forward, why it's stalled, and you have to fix that. And when you're working, so this is a common issue. Why the workflow is not moving forward? It's stalled because of an exception.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Good. Okay, I will let John know about next week class. Next week we'll see about workflows, then OIR, then type an attribute manager, the basic things to cover your business admin. So once you are comfortable with business admin, uh, comfortable with the UI, then we will move to customization. We'll write some code and I'll show you how to deploy it. I need to fix my machine before that. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks everyone. Have a
Yeah. Thank
yes.
you.
Thanks, Manoj.
Let's
Thank
do.
you, Manoj.
Bye.
Hello,
Bye.
Bye.
Manoj bro.
Yes, sir.
Bro, this is John. You said you will work with some
Wasim?
the resume thing.
Yeah. I asked to, I mean, before join, I told